Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. How you doing, brother?
Doing very well. How are you?
Oh, thanks for asking. I'm doing well also. Just had I got my brother-in-law and his son here visiting, and yesterday we went snowmobiling. It was the last part of the
Yeah.
season. There's a national park. It's actually a monument. It's supposed to be a national park here, about an hour away from where I live. And it was the last day that was open. And we had the entire park to ourselves. And they just got 4 feet of fresh powder. And it was an amazing experience. Just
Mm.
snowmobiling. There's two things that I got from that I want to share with you and the guys today, Tim, that I think you'll actually really get. First one I'll touch on. I'll come back to the most important message second. The first one is just how great it is to fill your cup and do it with people you love. I mean, how many times, guys, do you get the opportunity to do something different? It's only the second time I've ever been on a snowmobile, Tim, and actually just rev it, just punch it full gear. They let us go all out again when there's nobody else in the park, just zipping through trees. And then that's wide open space in this volcano, crevasse that was there, just covered in powder. It was just epic. But the second thing I noticed is we were going on the snowmobiles and we're going really fast. And the guide's like, you guys are the fastest group I've had all year. And we're moving pretty quick. And again, this is only my second time on a snowmobile and we're moving. Man, there's bumps and stuff. And you're going right. There's trees. You could put your hand out and hit a tree. Like it's pretty tight as you're going through. And what I noticed at first is as I was turning a corner, I'd be thinking, don't hit the tree. Don't hit the tree. Turn, lean into it, get away and turn. And that snowmobile was so friggin' hard to turn. And I'm watching because in front of me is my wife. And she seems to be doing just fine. And I'm about 220 pounds, work out a lot. And I'm just trying to muscle this snowmobile. Now, granted, my snowmobile had a bigger engine than hers, but she grew up snowmobiling, seemingly is making these turns with ease. Meanwhile, I'm friggin' muscling this thing. If I'm turning to my right, I am pushing like a bench press with my left arm, seated row with my right arm. I'm leaning on the snowmobile and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just missed that tree. Then I come to the next bend and you got the gas. I start to let go of the gas because I don't want to hit the tree. And I'm turning and I'm looking down. The tree is only a foot away from me. And I'm going, don't fall in the tree well. It was getting hairy because we are on the side of a mountain at some points. And I know you're smiling because I know you know exactly what I'm thinking here as I go. As I was going, I was thinking, man, why do I keep thinking don't hit the tree? And yet the snowmobile keeps going towards what? The tree each and every time. So, of course, as you know me, Tim, I started laughing out loud to myself because this is exactly what we teach the men, except for the story I tell is about telephone poles, right? And I tell this story a lot. And so some of the guys are going to hear this for maybe the first time for them or the second time, depending if you've been with me in person, and you'll hear it again. But an interesting thing happened. After I got done laughing, we come down another turn. We're going down a hill, going even faster. And this is like a hairpin turn. And instead of looking at the tree, I looked about 20 yards ahead of where I was going and where I wanted to end up. And that snowmobile turned like it was on butter. It would just turn smooth and simply. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such basically, this is life. Like life is the same way. Right? When you look behind us, we look at what we don't want, we're going to hit it or come darn close to hitting it each and every time. And just like the snowmobile experience, right? Filling my cup, I actually did not like snowmobiling for the first part of it. And the reason I didn't like it is I couldn't go as fast as the other people, right? I was the guy in the back and I was struggling. I mean, friggin' struggling to make it around these corners. And I'd have to let off the gas so I could turn so I wouldn't hit the friggin' tree that I was staring at. These are big trees in the mountains. And if I would have hit the tree, I would have crashed and screwed up the snowmobile, probably myself. So I was worried. And that worry and trepidation turned into anxiety for me. So the next turn, I would see it coming. I'd be anxious. Yet another friggin' tree. There's trees everywhere. Why is this guy taking us through the forest, right? Obviously in the mountains, but let's go to a clearing space. And we went to a clearing space that was clear and we had a great time. It was fun. I let the engine go. But again, we're back in the trees and I just found myself going, geez, just weighed out. My arms are getting tired. I'm just snowmobiling. My arms are getting tired. Anxiety is filling my body as I go through. And yet I'm still going, why am I struggling? Until it hit me. When we focus on what we don't want, guys, we start to get it more and more. When we focus on not getting divorced, when we focus on not being a jerk, when we focus on not losing money, when we focus on not gaining weight, when we focus on our wife not cheating on us, we start to create the environment around us for that to happen. When I was focusing on not hitting the tree, all my mind was looking at was the tree, the tree, the tree. Therefore, as much as I struggled against that snowmobile, the snowmobile was going towards what? The friggin' tree. And as I changed my outlook after I started laughing, after I changed my outlook, I was laughing because I was like, this is exactly life. This is what we teach the men, and I'm doing it. I'm just doing it with the snowmobile. As I changed my outlook and started looking down to what I wanted, I want to make this turn, I could actually put my foot on the gas or my hand on the gas, the throttle. And I went around that turn so smooth and slick, no anxiety, no trepidation. It just went off. I felt loose. I felt free. I passed everybody else on them. I took first place and remained there for the remaining of the trip and had a great time. Everybody trying to overtake me. You know how competitive I am, Tim. But I was just hitting jumps and everything else because I was just focused on what you want. Now, to be honest, there were a few turns when I started to say, oh shit, there's a big tree. And I started to go towards the tree again. I go, no, look ahead. What do you want? What do you want? And then I could turn into that. So it's easy to slip back in it, right? So you guys might find yourself like this in your marriage right now, right? Or you might find yourself like this in your business, your health, where you're starting to slip back into old patterns. Or maybe you're focusing on what you don't want rather than focusing on what you do want. And if you focus on what you don't want, let's just say it's the tree, whatever that is for you. And what I invite you guys to do is look across the 5 territories. That's self, health, wealth, relationships, and business. Where are you focusing on what you don't want? Where are you telling yourself, like I did, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree. Don't let my wife have an affair. Don't let my wife talk to somebody. Don't let my wife fill in the blank. Where are you focusing on this in your areas? Your marriage, for one, for sure. A lot of you guys are struggling in that area, but also your business. Where are you playing small, right? Where are you playing not to lose? That's the same thing as hitting the tree. Where are you playing not to lose rather than playing to win? Where are you looking in the past and just what's in front of you, 2 feet in front of you versus where you want to go? So Tim, I know you've coached so many men on this subject, and I appreciate you letting me share because it was so relevant, so fresh in my mind, going through that powder in that forest and just having that realization of like, oh my gosh, here we are, right? What a metaphor, right? What a metaphor for life and how it just hits you in the face. Luckily, it didn't hit me in the face. I just got snow in the face, but hit me in the face as far as a tree. But man, that just really anchored it in again for me.
It's a great lesson.
It is a great lesson. And where have you seen it with the guys?
Where have I seen it? Well, you see it a lot in people's language, right? So obvious. You know, people talk so often about, oh, well, I'm gonna focus on stopping whatever. I'm gonna focus on whatever it is. They're so focused on not doing the thing that they ultimately focus on doing the thing that they don't want to do, right? So the first way is looking at your language. I think it's a really great tell. Um, so often we ask the guys when they first come into the program, right? What do you want? And they tell you all the things they don't want.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to argue. I don't want to be out of shape. I don't want to. Okay, but that's what you've been focusing on. That's what's got you to this point. But what do you want? No, I don't want to know what you don't want. What do you want? And for some guys, they don't know. And that's okay. You know, a lot of guys, I mean, you could always just take what you don't want and just flip it, right? I don't want to argue. Well, the opposite of arguments is, well, it could be a few things: peacefulness. intimacy, whatever. So you can flip it. But for a lot of guys, when they've been looking at themselves and their life through that filter, it can take some time to change the lens, right? And actually start living from a place of what they want and creating it from that point. And some guys, like I was saying a moment ago, don't know what they want. Even if they had free time, what would I fill it with? Oh, I don't know. I'm just going to work, right? Because they've lost touch with themselves. So, yeah, as you know, we see it every day. A lot more with the guys in the beginning, a lot less with the guys as a graduate activation method and continue into the brotherhood or the inner circle. See a lot less with those guys, especially the guys that have been with us 2 years, 3 years, right? Those guys just auto correct almost instantly, instead of being out of the game for a week, they're out of the game for an hour, right? They know what to do to pull themselves back out of it very quickly. It's great to see. So again, great lesson.
Yeah, and you make a great point here. Is most people don't know what they want. They don't know that they want to make that turn around the bend, so to speak. And one of the things we do, guys, in the activation method, if you ever go through that program, is you are going to work with a coach on your vision or what it is you do want, right? Because once we get clarity, we get optics. And I'll tell you, like when I'm going through these trees, and it's decently wide, but it wasn't much more wider than my sled at some points. I couldn't see the turn coming up, right? I could see tracks in front of me, right? But I couldn't see the turn. And especially with the fresh powder, I couldn't see the tracks sometimes. And so you got to really have those optics. And when you're focused on what you don't want, you're always going to be attracted to, you can call it manifestation, you can call it whatever you want to call it. I don't care. I've seen it so many times that I just know it as a reality. You're going to start doing it. And your brain doesn't work and process in negatives, right? You've all heard this before, but here you go. Don't think about a pink elephant right now. Do not think about a pink elephant. Do not think about a pink elephant. Impossible not to have an image pop in your head. It's impossible because all your brain hears is think about a pink elephant. Do think about a pink elephant. So the same thing happens in life. Don't hit the tree turns into hit the tree. And somehow, some way, even though I think I'm doing everything I can to avoid the tree, my sled, right? The snowmobile was going towards that friggin' tree. I'm pulling on it. And I'm not I'm not the strongest guy in the world, but I'm not a weak guy either. So I'm putting a lot of friggin' muscle and I'm leaning into the turn with all 200 plus pounds, my body. And yet, when I look ahead on what I do want, that snowmobile turned on a dime. It turns so smoothly. And it wasn't the trails because we did it out and back. We went back on the same trails. The second half, or actually the second 2/3 of that snowmobile experience, were much like my marriage, much like the second 2/3 of my marriage has been. Amazing, fun, energetic. In fact, my wife was with me during this. We both felt alive and laughed. In fact, I will put a photo or two in the Facebook group. You guys can go check out, just look for hashtag don't hit the tree in the Facebook group. And I'll just put that in there for you guys and you can laugh at it. I got snow all over myself. It's great. But the reality is when I started focusing on what I did want in my marriage, what I did want in business, who I wanted to work with, what I wanted to do, right? When I focused on what I wanted in my marriage, how I wanted it to look, how I wanted my family to act, to interact, what I want the lessons, the morals, the virtues of them to have, we started hitting those markers rather than the ones we didn't want. So, gentlemen, what I'm going to invite you to do is grab a piece of paper. Again, if you're at the gym, you're working out, I commend you, right? But make sure you write this down and put it in your calendar. I know you have your phones, so you have access to your calendar or at least a reminder. I want you to write out the 5 territories. Now, the 5 territories we talk in the basics of the powerful man at the activation level is going to be self, health, wealth. And wealth is going to be like abundance, just so you guys know, it's not just money. Relationships and business. Now, in relationships, you can put anything you want to, but don't focus just on your children, right? Because a lot of guys will use their children as an escape depending on how their relationship's going. But I want to know, what do you continuously say, I don't want to do? I don't want to be like my father, right? Or what are you trying to avoid? I don't want my wife to have an emotional affair. I mean, if she thinks she is, I don't want her to be out there flirting with other men. Whatever the constant communication or conversation, I should say, in your head is, write those down. Then I want you to write those in the affirmative. What is it you do want in those areas? Or what do you want? Do you have a solid group of guys around you? Do you have a brotherhood around you? That's priceless, guys. That will carry you much further than anything else in your life. So, gentlemen, season's over here where I live in the mountains. No more snowmobiling for me, but get out there, fill your cup, and do the work. And as always, in a moment of insight, take massive action. And we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.